Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Islamic or Sharia law, session number 15. Inheritance and testament section continues. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Woe to prayers who neglect the charity. So woe to the worshippers who are totally heedless to their prayers. They only show off, but refuse to supply even neighborly needs. Al-Quran, Ayah 107-4 to 7. Now, I'll talk about the ayat which mentions about inheritance in more detail and are the limits imposed by Allah. It is decreed that when the death approaches, you shall write a will for the benefit of parents specified here and relatives specified as well as non-specified here equitably. This is a duty upon the righteous. Al-Quran, Ayah 2-180. And those of you who die and leave wives behind, make a bequest in favor of their wives of maintenance for a year without turning them out. Then, if they themselves go away, there is no blame on you for what they do of lawful deeds of themselves. And Allah is mighty, wise. Al-Quran, Ayah 2-240. Men shall have a portion of what the parents and the near relatives leave, and women shall have a portion of what the parents and the near relatives leave, whether there is little or much of it, a stated portion. Al-Quran, Ayah 4-7. And when there are present alive at the division, and when there are present alive at the division of the relatives and orphans and the needy, give them something out of it and speak to them kind words. Al-Quran, Ayah 4-8. And let those fear who should say, who should they leave behind them weakly offspring, would fear on their account. So let them be careful of their duty to Allah and let them speak the right words. Al-Quran, Ayah 4-9. Those who consume the orphans' properties unjustly eat fire into their bellies and will suffer in hell. Al-Quran, Ayah 4-10. Allah enjoins you concerning your children. The male shall have the equal portion of two females. Then, if they are more than two females, they shall have 2/3 of what the deceased has left. And if there is one, she shall have the half. And as for his parents, each of them shall have the sixth of what he has left if he has a child. But if he has no child and only his two parents inherit him, then his mother shall have the third. But if he has brothers, then his mother shall have the sixth after payment of a bequest he may have bequeathed or a debt. Your parents and your children, you know not which of them is the nearer to you in usefulness. This is an ordinance from Allah. Surely Allah is knowing, wise. Al-Quran, Ayah 4-11. And you shall have half of what your wives leave, if they have no child. But if they have a child, then you shall have a fourth of what they leave after payment of any bequest they may have bequeathed or a debt, and they shall have the fourth of what you leave if you have no child. But if you have a child, then they shall have the eighth of what you leave after payment of a bequest you may have bequeathed or a debt. And if a man or a woman leaves property to be inherited by neither parent nor offspring, and he or she has a brother or a sister, then each of them too shall have the sixth. But if they are more than that, they shall be sharers in the third after payment of any bequest they may have been bequeathed or a debt that does not harm others. This is an ordinance from Allah, and Allah is knowing, forbearing. Al Quran, ayah 4-12. These are Allah's limits, and whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, He will cause him to enter gardens beneath which rivers flow, to abide in them, and this is the great achievement. Al Quran, ayah 4-13. They ask you for a decision of law. Say, Allah gives you a decision concerning the person who has neither parents nor offspring. If a man dies and he has no son, he has a sister, she shall have half of what he leaves, and he shall be her heir. She has no son. But if there be two sisters, they shall have two-thirds of what he leaves. And if there are brethren, men and women, then the male shall have the like of the portion of two females. Allah makes clear to you, lest you err, and Allah knows all things. Al Quran, ayah 4-176. Basic logic of distribution after paying all the debts, including funeral expenses and wills. So here is a case number one. That's a good example. Uh, as its reference is being taken from Al Quran, ayah 4-11. The deceased person was married and leaving behind children only, since spouse might already have passed away or were separated. And when there are present at the division of the relatives and the orphans and the needy, give them something out of it as well. So now case 2, it is also referred from Al Quran, ayah 4-11. The deceased person was married and leaving behind children and parents, since spouse might have already passed or were separated. And when they are present alive at the division of the relatives and orphans and the needy, give them something out of it as well. Case 3, the deceased person was married and leaving behind spouse without any children, or may not have parents. So this reference is coming from ayah 4-12. And when there are present alive at the division of the relatives and the orphans and the needy, give them something out of it as well. Case 4. This reference is also from ayah 4-12. The deceased person was married and leaving behind spouse and children. And when there are present alive at the division, the relatives and orphans and the needy, give them something out of it as well. Case number 5. Al Quran, same ayah, same ayah 4-12. The deceased person was unmarried or married and leaving behind parents and brothers and sisters without any children or spouse. And when there are present alive at the division, the relatives and the orphans and the needy, give them something out of it as well. Case number 6, it is Al Quran, ayah 4-176. The deceased person was unmarried or married and leaving behind brothers or sisters only, no ascendants and no descendants and no parents, no spouse, no children. And when there are present alive at the division, the relatives and the orphans and the needy, give them something out of it as well. Because a male is responsible for the maintenance of a family, not the female. Male gets two-thirds and female gets one-third. And when there are present alive at the division, the relatives and the orphans and the needy, give them something out of it as well. Other relatives and charity. Do not neglect other relatives and charity. Also, we need to keep in mind, if only daughter or only sister is the here, where could she feel comfortable to live with? Either state need to look after her, or she will feel more comfortable with her uncle and aunt. So uncle and aunt should also get some shares as well. Under the light of the list of above ayat, if we do not forget any, it may it is the suggestion to be in the middle and pay to other relatives as well as charity, which may be around 10%. Around upon the consult of all the specified hears if they agree. Now we can realize why Allah did not fix the shares for whether relatives and charity in ayat, as said in ayah Al Quran 4-8. Since in dividing shares we may come up with dealing with the prime numbers or other numbers which do not perfectly divide among others. So, division of dividends for simple case, like male gets 2/3 and female gets 1/3, because a male is responsible for the maintenance of the family, as said earlier, not the female. Male gets 2/3 of the inheritance and female gets 1/3. Remember, if any of the specified heirs is not alive, but his or her descendants are alive, he or she will be treated as alive, and later his or her share will then be divided among his or her heirs. Example number one. So there are certain examples just to make the things more clear. If there are $1,000, for example, uh, in the inheritance, and they have to be divided, they'll be divided like this. So as we said earlier, male here and then female here plus other relatives and charity, that will be the total share. So 2/3 of 90% plus 1/3 of 90% plus remainder is equal to total $1,000. So 2/3 of 90% will come out to be 600, 1/3 of 90% will be 300, and plus remainder is 100. So that is the total share for males, females, and other relatives and charity. So 600 will go to the male here, 300 will go to the female here, and 100 will go to other relatives and charity. That is total 1000. Now you can divide in this way. You can divide, if there are $100, so in $100 you divide $60 will go to the if there are $100 and may further be divided into the relatives and charity as follows: paternal relatives, maternal relatives, and charity equal to around 10% of the total shares. So 10% of the total shares, then you can divide further. Like paternal relatives will have 2/3 of 90%. Maternal relatives will have 1/3 of 90%. Plus remainder is equal to 100. So $100 which we had above, that was for relatives and charity, they will further be divided into paternal relatives, maternal relatives, and charity. So paternal relatives will have $60 out of 100, maternal relatives will have $30 out of 100, and remaining 10 will go to charity. So this will be the distribution of 100 out of top $1,000 which were to be inherited. Now we have $60 which are for paternal relatives, may further be divided among male and female paternal relatives and charity as follows. So in the same formula, 2/3 of 90% will go to the male here, 1/3 of 90% will go to the female here, and plus remainder will be the charity. So out of the $60, which was for paternal relatives, 2/3 will go to male, that is 36. 1/3 will go to the females, that is 18, and remaining $6 will go to the charity, so that is total $60. Now we have $30 which are for the male here, may further be divided among male and female maternal relatives. Now, this is in case of the maternal relatives, which initially they have $30 for maternal relatives. So, in maternal relatives, also male here, female here, and charity. So, for male here, you have 90% of the two-third. Female here, you have 90% of one third, and remainder is charity. So $30, which were for maternal relatives in top $1,000. Now we are distributing top $1,000. So $18 will go to the male heirs, 19 will go to the female here, and 3 will go to the charity. So this was one example for $1,000. So similarly, we can, if we have $500 to be distributed, so it will likewise be distributed in males, two-third of 90%, females one-third of 90%, and remainder will go to the charity. So similarly, paternal relatives and maternal relatives. So this is how it will be divided. So now there could be other numbers also, like if you have $997, which is a prime number, so that may be, there is little bit of calculation needed. So if you have $997, so 90%, two-third of 90% will go to the male, one-third of 90% will go to female here, and remaining will go to other relatives and charity. So two-third of 90%, now we are taking 997 as amount that is to be divided. So that will be 600 plus 300, which is one-third of 90%, that will go to the female here, and remaining 97%, remaining $97, not percent, remaining $97 will go to relatives, other relatives and charity. So that makes total of 997. Now, if we take the other relatives and charity, which was $97, so we can then divide the same as paternal relatives, maternal relatives, and remainder charity. So that is the 10% of total shares, around 10% of the total shares. So two-third of 90% of $97 comes out to be 58. One-third of the 90% will is $29, and remainder is $10. That is total 97. So similarly, we can divide $58, which were for paternal relatives in the male and female heirs and charity, and $29 for male and female heirs and charity. So this is how, these are very simple formulas for distribution of whatever is the amount that is to be distributed. So main formula is that male here gets two-thirds of the 90%, female here gets one-third of the 90%, and remainder goes to other relatives and charity. So you will include all the relatives on paternal side as well as maternal side for remaining 10%. Uh, it's not very complicated if we just remember the basic rule. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll conclude this session here, to be continued later. It's a very good uh, it's a part of the family and society law, where we divide inheritance. Generally, there are big problems, and people do not know. They are not very clear about this division. So let's pray from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us wisdom and understanding about Quran and its injunctions and commandments upon us, and it gives us courage and strength to us, that we apply the Islamic law and Sharia upon ourselves, our environment, countries, and world as a whole. Uh, May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be our best guide and protector, and He bestows upon us whatever is best suited for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, please take care of yourselves, your kith and kins, family members, and your environment as a whole. So, till next session, inshallah, Allah Hafiz.